Okay, this is a reaction video. This is from Rowan J. Coleman. Please click like, share, and subscribe for him as well as from me. Top 10 Deep Space Star Trek Deep Space Nine episodes. Now, this is my favorite show. Star Trek Deep Space Nine is a fantastic show. I don't know what the top 10 episodes are. I'm pretty sure some of them, my favorite's going to be on here. Some of them may not be. Well, let's find out. Top 10 Star Trek Deep Space Nine episodes.
It's that time again. This time it's the top 10 Deep Space Nine episodes. In no particular order, let's get started.
Okay, at least he's not saying that this one is better than the other or anything like that. He's just 10 episodes, and that I like, because I don't like people saying, this is better than this one, blah blah. 10, just pick 10 episodes and just list them in any order you want.
All right, number 1, Duet.
Duet is a fantastic episode from the first season. Gul Darhe'el.
Early DS9 was a bit hit or miss, but this is a real standout for the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, Harris Yulin plays a guy who claims to be a file clerk, but his face shows that he's actually Gul Darhe'el.
Major Kira suspects that a Cardassian visitor to the station is actually Gul Darhe'el, a ruthless butcher from the Bajoran occupation. Not only does he confess to his crimes, but he tortuously revels in his work with pride and even joy. What follows is an incredibly written dialogue exchange with guest star Harris Yulin delivering some of the most brutal and stinging lines any villain has ever seen.
This was an absolutely fantastic episode, probably one of my favorite episodes, with Major Kira facing up against a guy who says he's Gul Darhe'el, but even though he's saying he's Damon Maritza. But really, really good episode. I'm not going to spoil it, but it really is one of the best episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine that came in the very first season.
Said, it's magnetic to watch as Major Kira tries everything she can to find some semblance of guilt or remorse, only to have it thrown back in her face. The scenes accompany a compelling mystery moving the episode forward, bringing it to a shocking climax. Number 2, Far Beyond the Stars.
Yeah, this is a 6th season where Captain Sisko takes the role of Benny Russell, I believe.
Star Trek often uses allegory to talk about social issues, but in this episode, it goes head-on against racism. Sisko was absorbed by a strange vision where he becomes Benny Russell, a black science fiction writer in 1950s New York. After seeing a drawing of a space station, he writes Deep Space Nine and creates the character of Benjamin Sisko, but comes into conflict with his boss, who tells him that no one will ever read a story with a black main character.
Yeah, this is a 1950s. You also have like an homage to D.C. Fontana, Dorothy Fontana, one of the writers of the original Star Trek. She couldn't use her real first name because people wouldn't buy, or at least the producers wouldn't believe that a female could write this stuff, and so she used D.C. Fontana, and I think Major Kira plays a woman who has that put in her name. I forget what her name is though.
This is a story which perfectly captures the abject injustice of racism or any other kind of prejudice. Not only does Russell contend with racism in the workplace, but also from law enforcement in his day-to-day.
Yeah, there's Gul Dukat.
And
there's Weyoun.
This episode was directed by Avery Brooks himself. The regular cast all slip into new human characters who occupy the vision, each of whom gives stellar performances and play richly textured characters who give off a lot of personality for such a short amount of screen time. The story itself also features a parable of what exactly Star Trek as a franchise means to people and just how important it is. Nichelle Nichols famously said how Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah, if you don't know the story of Nichelle Nichols and Martin Luther King Jr., Nichelle Nichols recently passed away. You have the first. Nichelle Nichols was at an NAACP like convention in 1967, 66, 67, around there, and she was told somebody wanted to meet her, and she assumed that it was going to be a young fan of the show, and she was standing next to Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and she had told Gene Roddenberry on the Friday, but because this was on a weekend, that she was leaving the show. and Roddenberry told her to take the weekend. And when she told Dr. Martin Luther King, "I'm planning on leaving the show," Dr. Martin Luther King said, "No, you must not do that." And he basically said, "You have the first important non-traditional role, non-stereotypical role. You are changing the minds of people across the world." Basically saying, you're showing the world how we actually are. And so Nichelle Nichols ended up staying with Star Trek through the full 3 years, seasons it was on the NBC.
Convinced her not to quit the original series, recognizing how important her part in the show was for audiences. The episode is barely science fiction at all. It's a heartbreaking drama which concludes in a gut-wrenching monologue from Brooks, which will shake you to the core. This is an episode which frankly I could spend hours talking about. It is brilliant. Number 3, Trials and Tribulations.
Now this is I don't know this, I put this on my top 10 list, but this is a very fun. This is basically a tribute to the 30th anniversary of Star Trek, like in 1996. They basically used the Orb of Time, even though they didn't know they had it at the time, to stop Charlie Brill's Neil Barris character. Charlie Brill was the guy who played Arn Darvin from trying to kill Kirk with a bomb and a tribble.
The last 2 episodes mentioned are pretty heavy-duty stuff, so now an episode which is just Star Trek having fun with itself. Trials and Tribulations sees the DS9 crew travelling back in time into an episode of Star Trek the original series. An excuse to see Sisko and co share scenes with Kirk, Spock and McCoy? Hell yes! Seeing O'Brien and Bashir in a 60s style fistfight? Hell yes! Seeing Jadzia Dax in go-go boots and a miniskirt? Mega hell yes! This episode is truly one for the fans. The plot is a simple time travel prevent disaster thing, but really it's just fan service, and more fan service, and I love it. And the effects used to digitally place the DS9 characters alongside the original totally hold up to this day. It's Star Trek having fun, and we Trekkies do too every time we watch it.
It is a good episode, though. It's a fun episode to watch.
Number 4, The Visitor.
This was actually on TV Guides. It was the number 1 Star Trek episode ever done. Now it's kind of fallen off a little bit since then, but still one of the most powerful episodes with Jake Sisko losing his father, and then going through time. And I think Tony Todd plays Jake Sisko as an adult.
This episode was DS9's Hugo-nominated episode, but unfortunately lost to Babylon 5, which Babylon 5 episode is the subject of a future list. This story chronicles Jake Sisko, who witnesses his father seemingly die on the Defiant, but he soon realizes that his father is actually living out of phase with his own life, only appearing many years apart, having not aged in the meantime. This is a story about grief. A boy loses his father but is unable to move on, and we watch powerlessly as his life is slowly destroyed because of it. This was really Cirroc Lofton's first time to shine in an episode, and his performance is only complemented when Tony Todd steps in to play an older...
Yeah, this was a fantastic episode, probably one of the best stories, probably one of the most heart-wrenching episodes of Star Trek you ever saw. I think Andrew Robinson's daughter plays the who played Garak, plays the girl who comes to see Jake Sisko as an adult, and find out why he stopped writing.
Jake Sisko. It's a brilliantly executed character piece doing what Star Trek does best, using an outlandish sci-fi premise to tell a tale which is ultimately very human. Number 5, Improbable Cause, The Die is Cast. A true crime in my full review of the series was not mentioning the eponymous Elim Garak, a true scene stealer played by Andrew Robinson of Dirty Harry fame. And
Garak is one of the best best characters ever created for television, whether it's Star Trek or not, and I'm pretty sure we're going to see him again in another episode, probably in this one. But this is probably one of the a great two-parter where I think in the 3rd season, where Enabran Tain returns, and you don't know who. Well, let's find out. Let's make sure this is the right one.
Much like Quark, his best scenes are his interactions with Odo. When Quark's humble tailor shop is bombed on the station...
Yeah, when Odo's... When Garak's tailor shop is... Yeah, and then it leads to them going, the Tal Shiar and the Obsidian Order had joined forces to go and invade the Dominion.
Odo launches an investigation which takes the two into a plot which could change the fate of the Alpha Quadrant. It's a great espionage adventure and political thriller which is centered on a rich relationship between two characters. Garrick's grey moral code, half-truths and gleefully false ignorance clash wonderfully with Odo's stern principles. Their scenes offer layered character development, laugh-out-loud comedy, and in part 2 a sickeningly sinister torture scene. Much like the galaxy itself, the two are never quite the same after this. Number 6, Homefront, Paradise Lost.
Yeah, this is another good one where, 4th season, where Sisko goes back to Earth and he's put temporarily in charge of security. And the first episode is basically the Dominion is coming to Earth. And the second episode takes it a little bit. It actually surprised me on where it actually went.
Lost, an episode which has a frighteningly relevant message for today. Starfleet gets word that Earth may have been infiltrated by the Dominion, so Sisko and Odo are called back to Earth to tighten up security, but it slowly becomes apparent that there is much more to the situation than at first thought. The pair of episodes deliver a well-refined argument for the preservation of civil liberties in the face of crippling fear. I can't help but feel a chill when I see characters surrendering to fear and going against fundamental principles of the Federation, and then seeing the exact same thing happening in the USA right now. It's a story set in the future hoping to deliver a self-preventing prophecy, but I just hope it stops being a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Now, again, I don't know if I agree with everything that he just said there, because I think this was done. I forget when this was done. This was done a couple years ago, and I don't think we even reached that, or going to reach that. But yeah, I understand what he's saying too. But now, Favor of the Bold and Sacrifice of Angels. This is the two-parter which ended the Dominion arc or the Cardassians taking over, retaking DS9. This is the last two. I think the episode. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 of the 6th season.
Number 7, Favor the Bold, Sacrifice of Angels. And now Deep Space Nine in top gear. Following the Season 5 conclusion, Dominion and Cardassian forces have seized control of Deep Space Nine. Now Captain Sisko masses a Federation fleet to take back the station before an armada of reinforcements can come through the wormhole. This two-parter is truly epic in every sense of the word.
Has one of the best space battles I've ever seen. Really a fantastic. The first 6 episodes of season 6 were absolutely phenomenal. Some of the best Star Trek I've ever seen, including Rocks and Shoals, which was the second episode.
Thousands of starships in a battle for the history books, betrayals and redemptions, triumphs and sacrifices. This was well into Deep Space Nine hitting its stride, and it shows. The story is confident, the characters are fully developed, and the fate of half the galaxy is at stake. It's basically Deep Space Nine's Battle of the Bastards, a TV episode which delivers as much drama and spectacle as the best blockbuster and the best Star Trek villain of all time in full swing. Fortune truly does favor the bold because this is a blowout that will last for the ages. Number 8, Waltz.
Okay, this is, I believe, with Sisko and Dukat on a planet, and Dukat is seeing visions of like Weyoun, Kira talking to him, and basically beginning his descent to madness.
Spoiler alert, I guess. Following the epic two-parter I just mentioned, with DS9 back under Federation control, Sisko crash lands on a planet with himself and an insane Gul Dukat being the only survivors. Sisko is basically at the whim of a madman and his mortal enemy. The only weapon he has to survive is his wits. The interplay between Sisko and Dukat is masterfully done. It feels like it should be performed on stage. It's an interstellar conflict boiled down to two men in an impossible situation, and it's nail-biting. And while both leads are fantastic, I truly feel this is an episode which belongs to Mark Alebo as Gul Dukat. Going from a brutal dictator to a guerrilla freedom fighter to the leader of an empire now driven mad, stranded on a desolate world with the one person he hates most in literally the entire universe. Safe to say that his arc over the course of the episode is breathtaking.
It is. It is one of the best performances by Mark Alamo. Fantastic performance. Really one of the best Deep Space Nine episodes ever did. This is also from the 6th season.
A fascinatingly personal follow-up to such an epic. Number 9, In the Pale Moonlight.
Now, this would probably be one of the best. This is why I love Garak. This is why Garak is one of the best characters, and he absolutely shines in this episode. And this is where Sisko, could you see Picard do something like this? Could you see Janeway doing something? Could you see Kirk doing something like this? Could you see Archer doing something like this? It is absolutely phenomenal to watch how Sisko gets the Romulans into the war.
What sets Deep Space Nine apart in terms of the Star Trek canon is its darkness, and no episode illustrates that better than In the Pale Moonlight. It's a confession from Sisko outlining how he got his hands dirty in order to save lives. He proceeds to tell how he lied, cheated, bribed, and became complicit in a murder in order to bring the Romulan Empire into the war against the Dominion. Sisko begins the episode as the same person we have always known, but then we watch as he's forced to make compromise after compromise. His moral code becomes twisted and unstable. It's a meditation on the means justifying the ends, but with a chilling ending. Number 10, Way of the Warrior.
Now, granted, this isn't like, obviously, this is in no particular order. So, obviously, In the Pale Moonlight would probably be, in a top 5 or top 3, maybe even the best episode. But yeah, absolutely phenomenal episode of the. Now, the Way of the Warrior is what brought Worf into Deep Space Nine. That's basically what the Way of the Warrior is. This was a way to get Worf in, and how do you do that? You have the Klingons basically attack Cardassia. The Federation condemns it, and the Klingons basically pull out of the Khitomer Accords.
This marks the moment when DS9 truly hit its stride. The showrunners found the direction they wanted and went for it. The episode sees a fleet of Klingon starships decloak around Deep Space Nine, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out that something is afoot. So Sisko enlists the help of Worf to try and get to the bottom of it. It's fantastic to see Michael Dorn back again with a fully grown character who has even more growing to do on this show. This is an episode much like the Favour the Bold Sacrifice of Angels two-parter. Political intrigue, tense espionage, character shakeups, and of course, full-blown space battles. I honestly like the Klingons best when they're the bad guys, and to see them clash with Deep Space Nine is a thing to behold. The first time we get to see the station let loose in a full battle, and it's awesome. A feature-length extravaganza to kick off Deep Space Nine's winning streak. It took a while before I finally admitted that Deep Space Nine is, in my opinion, the best Star Trek show, and The Way of the Warrior is the proof of exactly why. Are there any episodes
There's some episodes that you missed, but this is a phenomenal episode. I understand exactly where you came from. Please click like, share, and subscribe for Roland J. Coleman, as well as for me. I would appreciate it. And thanks for watching. Have a good rest of your day.